Hello, world and universe. Welcome to the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. And if you're new to the channel, please hit that like and subscribe button. And for those who have been following me, please continue to do so. I try to come up with some interesting commentary that affects us each and every day in life, and some of the travails that people go through and the decisions they make, whether good or bad, in America and throughout the world. And I got one that's coming up. I had to do this one because there's a guy that's on death row in Alabama who is getting ready to be executed on Thursday that I came across. And I want to tell you all this story and see what you think. Kenneth Eugene Smith, 58 years old, is scheduled to be executed for a second time, this time by nitrogen gas in Alabama. In the United States of America, they have never done this before. He's going to be the test dummy for it. He will be the first person in U.S. history executed by nitrogen gas. He is scared to death, no pun intended. He doesn't know if it is going to be fast or slow, painful death. He was convicted of murdering a preacher's wife in 1989. There was a preacher's senate who actually hired Mr. Smith, Kenneth Smith, and another guy to kill his wife. So it wasn't a robbery or anything like this. They actually got hired by this pastor to kill the pastor's wife. Of course, and then when they got caught and the pastor found out that he was being investigated, the pastor committed suicide. So he was convicted of murdering a preacher's wife in 1989. The jury overwhelmingly rejected the death penalty in his first case, 11-1, for him to get life in prison without parole. The jury voted 11-1 for him to get life without parole, not the death penalty. The trial court overruled the jury and sentenced him to death under a judicial override law that was abolished in 2017. So even though the jury wanted to give him life without parole, the judge came back and said, no, we're not going to do what the jury wants to do. I'm going to give him the death penalty anyway. So then why have a jury when the court overrides the jury decision? So in 2022, Alabama executioners spent several hours. In November 2022, they tried to kill him the first time, execute him. Alabama executioners spent several hours trying to kill him and tried to inject him with a combination of lethal chemicals, and they failed, unable to get the lethal chemicals into his veins. They abandoned the attempt right after midnight when the death warrant expired. So he was on death row. He was getting ready to be, they were trying to execute him back in November 2022, and they couldn't get it in his vein, kept poking him, and then after midnight, the death warrant expired. Now Alabama will try to kill him again, and this time by strapping a mask over his face and have him inhale pure nitrogen gas and starve his body of oxygen. This has never been done. He is due to be executed on Thursday, January 25th. Alabama has one of the highest execution rates in the United States. They got 165 people on death row currently. And this is why I tell all my listeners, everybody's so worried about who's going to be the president and vice president. And nobody, if you ask them who is your state legislators, who is your alderman, your city council people, your city attorney, let alone your state Supreme Court, who is your U.S. congressman, congresswoman, your U.S. senators, they hardly can even answer that. But these people are legislating laws that affect you each and every day in your own state. So you should know your state and vote in your state and city issues first and foremost, then go to the national part. Everybody's worried about who the president and vice president. Worry about who your congressperson is, who is your state senator, who is in your state Supreme Court, because they are legislating laws that affect you each and every day. Most people when they get in trouble, they're getting convicted on state issues. Child support is a state issue. Having a gun in your car is a state issue unless you go and take it across to another state. That's when it becomes federal. So you need to know what your state laws are. And so in this situation, since 2018, the state is responsible for botching 3 attempts for lethal injections where the inmate survived. And the system blamed the botched lethal injections on the prisoners themselves. Medical opponents are concerned about the subject not dying and ending up in a vegetative state and or the nitrogen gas leaking out and killing the other people in the room, including his spiritual advisor who will be in the room with him. So they are worried about he might not even die, end up in a vegetative state where they have to take care of him for the rest of his life anyway. And they're worrying about the nitrogen leaking out of the mask while there are other people that are in the room. They could die also. They have no anecdotal science to confirm if this will work and or how long it will take for him to die. Wow. For some reason, the state of Alabama is hell-bent on killing Kenneth Smith, as if he killed the governor's mother, wife, a daughter, or husband. They say that within 15 to 20 seconds, Mr. Smith should have a seizure and then lose consciousness right after violent spasms. That seems gruesome. And if any gas seeps out, the others in the room could stroke out and die also. So they don't even care about the other state employees that are in there. The state of Alabama, as I said, doesn't even care about the staff members who would be in the execution room. They are just so focused on making sure they kill him. The state of Alabama Governor Kay Ivey declined to comment on the concerns of this first time putting a person to death by nitrogen gas. He is still a human being, and where are the human rights for him? The U.S. puts to death more people than any other country in the world, and we are number 1 for the number of guns on the streets. Judicial killing, death row doesn't deter crime. So death row, putting people to death, executing them, has never deterred crime. It's one killing on top of another. If this was done to an animal, every pet owner in the United States would be picketing the person that's killing the animal. But nowadays, people love their pets more than they love their family and their friends. Where are the human rights laws in this situation? Governor Ivey is supposed to be a Christian, and she can override this decision and stop it. Governor Ivey probably is against abortion and is pro-life, but she's pro-death and putting this prisoner and this inmate to death. How hypocritical is that? That's kind of a double entendre and filled with hypocrisy. Remember, the jury was 11-1, said for him to be life in prison without parole. But the judge decided to give him the death penalty. Life in prison is enough. That is the death penalty. And I always say, and so when it comes to the death penalty is a big issue for folks. Also, the abortion issue is a huge issue for folks. And I always say to people, the people that I don't like in this world, I don't want them to die early. That's a way out. This can be a very suffering time on this earth if you don't have the advantages that this life has to offer. If you are poor, suffering, addiction issues, mental health issues, if you're a mean-spirited person, why not let them live to the 80 or 90 years old and just suffer? I think that's too easy for to put someone to death or for them to die if they're just mean, demonic, and evil. They should sit here on earth and rot. But we are such proponents of the death penalty, like that answers it. And everybody that tells you, the victims that watch the perpetrator get executed, they feel nothing. There's an emptiness because they never get that family member back. So it never serves its purpose anyway. Tell me what you think. This is coming up, fastly approaching in the next couple of days with this gentleman, Kenneth Smith. And let's see how this situation turns out. This has been the Trevor Donald Experience. Manifest your truth. This is Kenneth Eugene Smith out of Alabama. and give me your thoughts and comments and tell me what you think. Should he live, die, live on death row, or have life in prison without parole?